All right. Let's hit another caller. You're on the line. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. How you
I'm doing well. So are you MAGA?
doing? I'm kind of like neither. I have family who is.
Okay.
I was in. I mean, I'm not neither, but I believe in this country for what it's worth.
Okay.
I mean, freedom for all and a fair shot at liberty and happiness.
Yeah.
But I really don't think like we have like a left in America. Really
No?
don't think that.
Why
Nah,
is
because
it?
I really don't think Obama was a Democrat. Because
What?
he ran on ending the wars. Never did, and then he just built up the system that now Trump is using on us.
I think that Bush probably really built up the system that's being used on
Well,
us more than
he started
Obama,
it.
but
He started it. Bush started that whole Patriot Act.
yeah.
With 9/11 using that thing. But Obama, he ran on ending both of the wars. He ran on that.
That's true. He did. I
And
agree, and I want to get rid of the wars as well, and I'm glad that we were pulled out of Afghanistan and everything else. However, I
yeah, but
tend to
it's
lean toward
those
maybe it's more complicated than
well
it
those
seems.
those wars have built up this system that we have today that Trump is just using
It's true.
like willy nilly, man. Well, he is really using the system and it was crazy because Trump has always been on a Democrat until he flipped, and then it's crazy because MAGA is not even. I don't even think they're conservatives. I think they're just a whole other different mindset.
Yes, they're
That's what I think.
fascists, not conservative, but fascists for sure.
Yeah, because he's you doing things that if Biden were doing them or I don't know if you remember when Obama was supposedly doing like Jade Helm and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Everybody
I
was
remember.
freaking out, but now Trump he's doing worse, and you can see it, and everybody is just not even caring. And then with these wars now, that's why the economy is getting bad too, because we got to build all this military tech, and it's costing more money to build it, and they can't really hide the inflation because that's why I said Obama should end the wars because that spent so much money. It spent so much of our treasury and so much of our time thinking about something that didn't exist.
I agree. And
You know?
Obama definitely did a lot of drone attacks and stuff, and it was not good. I 100% agree. The thing is, like in Germany in the 30s, there was, fascism was on the rise, and whether people want to admit it or not, fascism is here as well in the United States now. That's just what it is. And fascists took root in Germany and other places like even after World War II, because the left didn't unify at the time. Like communists viewed the social democrats in Germany as more dangerous than the Nazis, instead of unifying and doing a grassroots effort against the Nazis. And that's what MAGA is trying to do now, is create a war between different different left wing
Divide and
sections.
conquer. Divide and
Yes.
conquer. Yeah, like a Hegelian dialect. I wonder how we can use what we know in history to make, because that there is a right population there that doesn't like control and can
Right.
see it if it's properly identified. But how do you think we can do that with like this, with the Jimmy Kimmel thing, when he really didn't
Hmm.
even say anything? You realize that, right? He just showed a video of
Yeah.
what Trump said. And that's going to be the scary thing, because I don't know if you noticed, but Trump in his last term, he wrote a directive where anything that comes out of war zones and you already saw it with Hegseth now in his Trump, in his second term, that
Yeah.
you have to go through the Pentagon. And during his first term, he wrote that casualties have to be authorized to be put out on the news. And
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember when George W. Bush's time, they didn't want to release them. And it was, thank God, that we had journalists who were going out and reporting those casualties. And I don't know if you know a news organization called the 700 Club. They're a big
I do.
evangelical
Hmm.
part. Yeah, they're huge. Their main news reporter was trying to argue it was against the not only law but like treasonous for
Yeah.
them to report casualties. That's terrifying.
Yeah, I
That's
know. It's
what.
crazy. And in Germany, again, like I keep going back to that because we are in a fascist government now. At the time, there was a cult of personality around Hitler in the exact same way that we see a cult of personality around Donald Trump. That's part of fascism. Cult of personalities form around the person, and it makes them scandal proof. And when they become scandal proof, they can do literally anything, and that's where we are now. But I'll tell you what.
But in today's world with today's technology, because during the Battle of Stalingrad, a lot of German people really thought that they were still getting reports from the Sixth Army when the 6th Army was already surrounded and nothing could get out. I wonder in today's time, you think if anything serious militarily wise could happen, do you really think that can be swept under?
No, I don't think so. Not anymore. Our media landscape is just completely different now. It would be a lot harder for them to hide everything.
And you think we could use that to what is that word, to help us out in pushing that we need free press. We need more. We don't need this censor. We don't need this control, because if we don't have the proper information, then it endangers us because of the lack of knowledge. If we're really gonna take these extreme steps like military war and everything, with people who are not really through, and that's what I see. Is they're just going off of it seems like vibes. If you've seen those last two speeches, it just seems like vibes.
Yeah, 100%. And I'm also disturbed by the fact that during Charlie Kirk's memorial, they literally plagiarized Joseph Goebbels. But I'll tell you what, I'm going to move on to the next caller, and I appreciate the call.
Thank you. You have a good night, okay?
All right, you too. Interesting. Sign up for my Patreon. I'd really appreciate that very much. It would mean so much to me. This is like a really precarious moment in history, in U.S. history, and for me personally, so it would mean a lot if you sign up for my Patreon. Check out cultarchive.org. I did a cult test, basically, where you can see if you're in a cult, and you can look at the historical tests of other groups that already went through this. Also, check out my merch. I have a whole bunch of really cool shirts and stuff. Really interesting. I would really appreciate that. All right, well, we got another. You're on the air. Do you support MAGA?
Hey, Owen. Unfortunately, I do not support MAGA. I'm not a Magatanian. I'm sorry you've been getting a lot of calls that are, more so agreeing, but I actually do kind of have a disagreement with you, and I want you to educate me because I know you know your a lot more.
Okay, well, lay it on me. So what do we got?
What makes you think that we would have a Nuremberg 2.0 kind of thing in this country with our current two-party system that we have now?
Well, the thing is, we have, all right, in Germany, they had Spruchkammer courts. Nuremberg was for, like, arch criminals. And I don't know that we're going to have a Nuremberg type of thing, because that was like, that was an international criminal court. But Spruchkammer courts were local courts. They were like a mix of like courts and town halls almost. And everybody had to fill out a questionnaire and everything. It was like a systematized thing where everybody has to go through this process of like answering for how supportive they were of the system. And that's pretty, that's pretty involved in its own right. I believe that we're going to see something like that because I see it signaled by the party. I see it from Eric Swalwell, who recently said we're going to have a presidential crimes commission after Trump leaves office. I see it from J.B. Pritzker. He said they're hiding their faces because, ICE, because they know that, like, Trump isn't going to be around forever. And, Democrats going to take control again at some point. And ICE knows that, too. And that is why they're hiding their faces.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's good. I was just going to say, those are establishment Democrats. Those aren't like left-wing, whatever. And also, we see one more thing, and then I'll let you go. Then I'll let you talk. Also, we see every election that's taken place since Trump won, every single one has flipped districts, like solidly red districts where Trump won by like 5%, went like 10, 15% toward Democrats. There is a groundswell of support for accountability, the likes of which I have never seen in my entire life, ever. So that's why I think.
Well, Owen, I really hope you're right. The way that I'm seeing it right now, it just seems like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, in Nazi Germany, Hitler's regime was able to kind of wiggle its way into power. And I feel like, the administration before Hitler, they like put him in as chancellor, right?
Yeah, he lost his election, and then they chose, and then the president who did win put him in as chancellor. Yeah.
Yeah, and you give a fascist an inch, they take a mile, like
Yep.
you've always said.
Yep.
Well, that's the thing. The neoliberals at the time were more willing to work with the fascists because they believe in this whole civility bullshit. And I feel like that's what's going on with the modern Democratic Party to a T. And my fear is that the Democrats are going to continue this status quo bullshit that they've been doing, where they get back in and they continue to move further right, because they're more concerned with maintaining the status quo than they are actual progress. And I like what Gavin Newsom's been doing, even though I think he's a fucking sociopath.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and my fear is just that we're just going to get a Gavin Newsom running for president. And I don't see Democrats pulling this off, because I feel like this might sound kind of doomer, and maybe you can, again, educate me here. I feel like this is the end of our republic, hands down. I think they're going to create a one-party system. They're going to dismantle the democratic institutions. They're already talking about doing it, and the Democrats are basically doing dick. They're just sitting there with their... It's pissing me off. Like,
they are doing nothing.
Jeffries
absolutely.
Talk about civility and how we need to build bridges and all this. You can't build bridges with these people.
Absolutely.
And I keep trying to explain this to people who are vote blue no matter who types, because they have this like false sense of security. That, oh no, Kamala's going to run again. Gavin Newsom's going to run. We're going to come back stronger than ever. And we're like pretending like it's still the year 1992. And we're not dealing with... I'm sorry, I'm getting a little hyperbolic here.
No. I totally agree. I totally understand, and I'm right there with you. However, I have seen signs that the Democrats are not like that anymore. I mean, like I said, with J.B. Pritzker, with Eric Swalwell, and in Germany, like, they were split up, and they were there's a lot of apathy and everything. And there's certainly apathy here, but there's more rage here than apathy, as far as I can tell, from people like me and you and others. And the No Kings protest is evidence of that. It's just one example. I think that I feel like they turned the heat all the way up on the frog, and we all watched it unfold. And I think that this cult of personality that is like necessary for fascism to exist is going to go away when Trump, kicks it peacefully in his bed, God willing, at the age of 103. I'm just saying, when it happens, they're all fucked. All of them, every single one, all the way up and down. You don't? Why?
I feel like they're just going to double down on the hatred. I feel like Trump is going to leave open that power vacuum. Sure, they're going to be looking for another... they're probably going to create a religion out of Trump for sure.
Oh,
He's going to become a martyr regardless. If he dies of old age, they're going to just pretend that he was killed by a leftist or something. And then my fear is someone like Stephen Miller is going to take the mantle.
But he's not popular.
A lot more dangerous.
He's not popular. The thing is, with fascism, they need a cult of personality that is scandal-proof. And J.D. Vance is not scandal-proof. Stephen Miller, they are not scandal-proof like Donald Trump. He could literally shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and not lose any voters. But that's not the case for Stephen Miller or anybody else. Like, Trump is uniquely positioned to control MAGA in a way that nobody else could step in and do. And this is a problem that exists in dictatorships that they tried to correct for. Look at Kim Jong-il, like, taking his kid Kim Jong-un out into public for like years leading up to that, introducing him to diplomats and building it up and creating this cult of personality, and claiming that he also shot, a par 30 on 18 holes or whatever, and that he doesn't like use the bathroom at all and that kind of thing. They did that because they need that scandal-proof, godlike perception to exist, or that cult of personality will not coagulate around it. And Donald Trump is too full of himself to allow for something like that. I mean, I could see him doing it for one of his kids, but he's just not, and he never has. He's too self-centered. So I think that that's going to work in our favor, and I don't think that they have any chance. I think I think Pam Bondi, I think Elon Musk, and Stephen Miller, and all of them, and every single ICE agent that was involved in this, is going to spend the rest of their lives in prison, in my opinion.
Or when he dies, Elon will probably just make an AI version of him for everyone to worship or something.
Yeah, probably. Anyway.
Anyways, I know I'm going to let you take some more calls. Hopefully you get a Magatopian. I know they're not around very often, but I really appreciate the work you do, Mr. Morgan. I'm going to check out your book.
Okay.
You're very insightful. I listen to you all the time. So you have a wonderful day, all right?
Yeah, thank you. I'll
night.
talk to you later on then.
Yep, bye-bye.
Interesting. Yeah. I think it's a matter of time. And I've even seen those signals from Gavin Newsom, to be fair, that Democrats are not going to allow this to go away. They're not going to allow it. There is a fundamental shift when people watched ICE go into inner cities and zip tie children. Do you know that happened recently? ICE zip tying children, if you're watching 5 years in the future. Putting handcuffs on children, little toddlers, literally toddlers. Do you know the Turner Diaries? I did a video on the Turner Diaries. It's considered the most dangerous book in the world because it was intended to spark a race war. And every time there's some major shooter or some major attacker of some sort, Timothy McVeigh or, with the Oklahoma City bombing or whoever, they always have a copy of the Turner Diaries with them. And that's in part because the Turner Diaries explains how to build a bomb in it and how to counterfeit money. Now, the money thing is a little outdated now that we have like printers and the way they work and everything else, but how to build a bomb will be valid forever, right? I think it's like chapter 9 or something, 7, 9. Timothy McVeigh had a copy of that chapter printed out in his truck when he was pulled over after blowing up like that building in Oklahoma City. And the first chapter of the Turner Diaries is establishing the justification for a race war. And the justification that it laid down was exactly what ICE is doing right now. They tell this fictional story about how blacks and Jews go into white people's homes and take their guns and take them away and separate them from their children and send their children to jail and everything else. That's chapter 1. And ICE is literally doing that. They are literally reenacting chapter 1 of the Turner Diaries right now. The far right's justification for civil war. If that doesn't chill you to the bone, I don't know what will. If this doesn't chill you to the bone, I don't know what will.
Apoplectic right now. The reason that so many anchors on MSNBC, for example, are losing their minds daily is because our side is winning. And so I come full circle in this response and just want to encourage you with some substance that we are in the process of the Second American Revolution, which will remain bloodless if the left allows it to be.
If that doesn't chill you to the bone, I don't know what will. Anyway, tell me what you think about it in the comments.